I was 73 when my own daughter tried to put me away. The irony? She wasn't cruel. Not in the loud, obvious way. She didn't scream. She didn't hit. She didn't even raise her voice. She was far more dangerous than that. Her name was Caroline Royce, and she believed in difficult decisions, and what's best for everyone, and protecting our family's future. That was always the phrase she used when she was about to do something unforgivable. I raised her alone after my husband died young. I worked as a librarian for 38 years, quiet, predictable work, the kind that builds a life slow but steady. My house was modest, my savings small but stable, my independence absolute. Caroline grew up polite, bookish, gentle, or so I thought. She moved to another state for university, married a lawyer, had 2 children of her own, and developed an impressive skill. She learned how to talk like a victim while holding the knife herself. I should have seen the warning signs, the sighs over the phone, the careful suggestions about needing oversight, the way she visited only when she needed something, not when I did. The betrayal didn't come suddenly. It leaked. It began with a phone call from my bank. A man with a soft voice informed me that someone had inquired about converting my savings into a trust. "Who requested that?" I asked. "Your daughter," he replied. "You gave her authorization, correct?" "No," I said. Silence. Then a nervous clearing of the throat. "We'll freeze further actions until you come in." I went in. My account had been accessed multiple times from a city 2 states away. My statements had been forwarded to a new email address, one that was not mine. Every person at the bank apologized. Every apology made me feel smaller. I walked home in the rain, feeling a strange kind of numbness, not shock, not yet, but something quieter and heavier, the kind of numbness that comes when your heart is bracing for confirmation. And it came. Caroline arrived the next day with her husband, Mark. He wore a suit, even though it was Saturday. She wore concern the way actresses wear makeup, flawless, too perfect. "Mom," she whispered, taking my hand, "we need to talk." "I know," I said. She blinked, surprised. "Oh, good. Then you understand." "No," I said softly, "but I'm listening." She sighed as if this were exhausting for her. "Mom, it's time you moved somewhere safer." "You mean a nursing home?" She flinched, then smiled, soft and pitying. "Not a nursing home. An assisted living community. You'd have staff, meals prepared, medication support." "I don't need support," I interrupted. "Not now," she said gently. "But soon. And we want to make decisions before things get unmanageable." "Unmanageable," I echoed. She squeezed my hand, eyes big and glassy. "Mom, you're forgetting things." "No," I said. "I'm not." Mark stepped in. "It's for the best," he said. "We already spoke to a lawyer. And to the facility. There's a room ready." Something inside me snapped, not loudly but cleanly. "You spoke to a lawyer?" I asked. Caroline nodded. "Yes. To transfer guardianship." I stared at her. "You think I'm incompetent?" "No," she said immediately. "Of course not. But the paperwork." "You filed paperwork?" Her voice softened to a whisper. "We're doing this out of love." Love. People have done unspeakable things with that word as their shield. "Caroline," I said slowly, "what made you think you had the right to make decisions about my life?" She let out a tired little laugh. "Mom, please don't be dramatic. We're trying to save your finances. The house is falling apart. You can't keep up with bills. You're at risk of losing everything." I looked at Mark. His expression was neutral. Too neutral. "You want my house," I said. Caroline's mouth dropped open. No, that's not. "You want my house," I repeated. "And my savings." She inhaled sharply. "You don't understand," she whispered. "We need stability. The kids' tuition. Mark's job is uncertain. The mortgage." I felt the truth like a stone settling in my stomach. "You planned this," I said. "You planned all of this behind my back." She reached for me. "Mom, please, we didn't want to hurt you. But you did." She started crying. Then soft, graceful tears that fell beautifully, the kind that drew sympathy from strangers. But I had raised her. I knew when she cried for real. These tears were not for me. They were for what she stood to lose. I felt no urge to comfort her. Instead, I stood, my voice steady. "Get out of my home." Mark stiffened. "Mrs. Doyle out," I repeated. Caroline's eyes widened. "You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years." She stood slowly, trying to keep her dignity intact. "You're making a mistake," she said. "No," I replied. "You did." After they left, I sat alone in the quiet house I had lived in for 4 decades. The betrayal settled around me like smoke. My own daughter. I had expected many things from life, but not this. I stayed sitting until the sun set and the room turned blue. Then I stood, walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer where I kept old papers, and pulled out a business card I had kept for 10 years. It belonged to a woman named Dahlia Pierce, a private investigator, not the polite, friendly kind. The kind with scars she didn't explain and contacts she didn't list. I had helped her once a long time ago during a situation involving a missing child and a hospital file. She had told me, "If you ever need a truth no one else can find, call me." I stared at her card now. My daughter thought age made me helpless. She was wrong. Age had made me patient. And patience is far more dangerous, because it always ends always with precision. I dialed the number. Dahlia answered on the second ring. "Who is this?" "It's Marianne," I said. A beat of silence. Then, "Tell me who betrayed you." My eyes burned not with tears but with clarity. "My daughter," I said. Then Dahlia replied in a low, cold voice, "Let's take everything she thought she could get away with." Dahlia Pierce didn't waste words. "Your daughter," she repeated slowly, like she was tasting something bitter. "What exactly did she do?" I sat at my kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug I wasn't drinking. Outside, the street was quiet, too quiet, the kind that made me feel like the world had stepped back, waiting to see what I would do next. "She filed for guardianship," I said. "She accessed my bank accounts. She forged my email. She tried to move my savings into a trust she controls, and she wants me in assisted living." Dahlia let out a low, humorless chuckle. "Ah, the modern way to bury someone." My throat tightened. "Yes. Does she know you found out?" "She knows." "And what did she do?" I smiled a cold, brittle smile I hadn't felt on my face in decades. "She cried." Dahlia exhaled sharply. "That's not guilt. That's panic." "I know." There was a brief silence on her end. I imagined her leaning back in her chair, cigarette smoke curling in the air, eyes narrowing as she pieced things together. "Marianne," she said, "I need access." "To what?" "Everything she touched." I swallowed. "I'll give you whatever you need." Her tone softened, just a little. "Good. Then this is how we start." The next morning Dahlia arrived. She hadn't aged gracefully, she had aged honestly. Sharp jaw, tired eyes, leather jacket that probably knew more secrets than most priests. She stepped into my living room, looked around once, and nodded. "Nice place," she said. "Small enough to manage, big enough to steal." I huffed a laugh. "Thank you." She sat, pulled out her laptop and opened it with practiced precision. "Tell me every detail. Don't hold back." So I did. I told her about the bank calls, the frozen accounts, the forged trust documents, the assisted living plan, Caroline's tight, perfect smile, Mark's neutrality weaponized into cruelty, the words, "We're doing this out of love," the worst lie a family member can use. Dahlia typed quickly. "Your daughter's smart," she said finally. "Dangerously," I replied. "And arrogant." "Yes, that's good." I blinked. "Good? Smart people leave trails," she explained. "Arrogant people leave big ones. And people who think their victim is old?" She smirked. "They leave no cover at all." I felt something warm loosen in my chest. Hope. A different kind than before. This wasn't hope for reconciliation. This was hope for justice. We began with bank records. Dahlia pulled them up on her screen one by one. She didn't gasp. She didn't curse, she just clicked and said, "There." "There? Look at the IP addresses," she instructed. I squinted. Several transactions had been performed from Caroline City, a few from my own, but during times I was asleep or at the library, some from Mark's office building. And then there was one more. A darker one. "What is that?" I asked. "A VPN," she said. "Used to mask location. Amateur job. But it points to someone trying to hide." "To hide what?" I whispered. Dahlia turned to me. "Someone didn't just alter your accounts. Someone created accounts in your name." My breath caught. "Identity fraud?" "A very specific kind," she said. "I've seen this before. They build a debt profile in the victim's name. Then when creditors start calling, they claim the victim is incompetent or confused, making it easier to declare you unfit." My stomach twisted. They were setting me up. Yes. Dahlia tapped her laptop like she was knocking on a coffin. "And your daughter wasn't working alone." The room felt suddenly colder. "What do you mean?" "Her husband," Dahlia said. "And maybe more." That evening Dahlia insisted we follow Caroline. Not confront. Not speak. Observe. "People tell the truth when they think no one is watching," she said. We parked half a block from Caroline's suburban home, a large brick house with a manicured lawn paid for by lies. Lights turned on inside. Through the window we saw Caroline pacing the kitchen, phone glued to her ear. "She's spiraling," Dahlia noted. Then Mark entered. Tall, clean cut, boring in the way dangerous men often are. He took the phone from Caroline gently, placed it on the table, and held her by the shoulders. We couldn't hear them, but we could see the outline of their anger. Caroline's face twisted in rage. Mark pointed at her. She shoved him. He didn't shove back, he stepped forward, cornering her against the counter. Dahlia leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "Get your phone. Record." I did. Mark's gestures were precise, sharp, controlled the movements of a man used to winning arguments by force or intimidation. Caroline deflated. Then something happened I didn't expect. Caroline reached into a drawer, pulled out a folder, and threw it at him. The papers spilled everywhere. Mark picked them up, held one up, shook it in her face. Caroline started crying, not the manufactured kind she showed me. Real crying, shoulders shaking, mascara streaking. Dahlia's voice was low. "Found the motive." "What motive?" She turned the camera toward me. "You're not the only one they tried this with." My blood ran cold. "You think they've done this before?" "I think Caroline is not the mastermind," Dahlia said. "I think Mark is." 3 days later we had the evidence. Emails from Mark to a lawyer discussing elder consolidation. Drafts of guardianship requests targeting Caroline's mother-in-law. A spreadsheet titled Projected Assets. Arguments in which Mark criticized Caroline for messing up the timeline. And then the smoking gun. A recorded call accidentally saved on Caroline's cloud where Mark said, "If your mother signs over the house, we'll be set for 5 years. After that, we'll move her somewhere cheap. She doesn't need luxury. She won't remember it anyway." I couldn't breathe. Caroline's voice on the recording was small, trembling. "Mark, what if she says no?" "Make her say yes," he replied. "Cry if you have to. She always falls for that." Something inside me snapped, not like glass, like steel, quiet, final. Dahlia closed the laptop with 2 fingers. "Ready?" she asked. "For what?" "For the part where we end them. We didn't confront them at home. No. We waited until a Saturday morning at a popular brunch restaurant, the kind where people wore expensive casual clothes and pretended their lives were perfect. Caroline and Mark arrived with their kids, laughing, acting. We waited until they were seated. Then Dahlia nodded. "Your moment." I walked across the room. Caroline looked up. Her face collapsed. "Mom?" Mark stiffened. The children blinked in confusion. I placed a folder on the table. "This is everything you did," I said calmly. "To me, to others, to your own future." Mark opened his mouth. "Don't," Dahlia said behind me, stepping forward, badge of her PI license displayed. This restaurant has cameras, she added. Now the room was watching. Caroline's eyes filled with tears. Not performance tears, real ones. Mom, please. I'm not here for revenge, I said softly. I'm here for truth. I tapped the folder. The police have copies. The bank has copies. Your employer has copies. Your in-laws have copies. Mark went pale. Caroline's lips trembled. But, what do you want? She whispered. What did I want? I looked at her. My daughter. My betrayal. My heartbreak. I want you to understand, I said, that you did this. Not me. Not age. Not confusion. Not circumstance. You. Her tears spilled over. I'm sorry, she whispered. I nodded. But I didn't say I forgave her. Forgiveness is not a debt owed. It is a mercy chosen. And she wasn't ready for mercy. I straightened. You will leave my accounts, my house, and my life alone, I said. You will remove every petition you filed. She nodded, shaking. And you will do therapy, I added. For yourself, for your children, for the part of you that thought using me was acceptable. Mark stood abruptly. This is extortion. Dahlia laughed. No, this is documentation. We left them there broken, exposed, stripped of the armor they had built from lies. Outside, the sun felt warmer than it had in months. Dahlia lit a cigarette. You did well, she said. I breathed out slowly. So did you. What now? She asked. I looked down the street. The city was alive. My legs hurt. My heart hurt more. Now, I said, I finally live on my own terms again. She nodded. As it should be. Back home I sat in my favorite chair, the one near the window where the light always fell gently. I wasn't young. I wasn't fast. I wasn't glamorous or intimidating, but I was still whole, still sharp, still myself. Age hadn't stolen my strength. It had carved it into something quieter, something colder, something that could end a betrayal cleanly. Caroline would recover one day. Maybe. But she would never again mistake my gentleness for weakness. And she would never forget the moment her mother stood up and refused to be erased. Not by strangers. Not by systems. Not by family. Not ever.